Okay, it's review time. Today we've got interesting comparison between the Wilson C300 and the C300 Forged. Let's see how these play. Okay, so looking at the blurb on the website between these two particular heads, it's virtually the same design. One of them's forged and one of them cast. The forged one's a more expensive club. The cast one's obviously cheaper than that. But how do they play compared to each other? Okay, so I'll take you through a couple of the design features, although I'm not big on all this because I just want to know how to play. Main thing I would notice is these holes along the bottom. They're sort of filled with like a resin or a rubber. These are supposed to allow the face to flex and therefore give you a little bit more speed off the face, which will equate to more distance. I'm not sure whether that's true or not. It's a kind of crossover club, so it's not a cavity back, it's not a blade, it's in between. But from the top edge looking down, and I'll show you this in a minute, it does look like a player's club. So I'll hit a few with each. I've got flight scope switched on, but I'm going to talk to you about how they feel and how they look before we actually look at some of the data that's coming off the club face. We'll start with just the C300. Okay, initial thought of that one was it feels a bit clunky. Probably my mission will be that it's not set up to my specification. It wouldn't be the shaft I would go for, but both the shafts are the same in each, so it's a fair representation. Like quite a strong flight. I generally launch my 7-iron at about 16 degrees. I'd want to spin it about between 6,000 and 7,000 revs. These are figures we can check with flight scope in a minute. But that would look at that, it's probably a little bit shorter than my own, but it's also a little bit shorter in the shaft. Three pretty similar shots, just fading on the wind there a little bit. Again, feel a little bit clunky. And probably don't sound quite as good as my own. I've got a set of C300 irons which are forged, which feel quite soft and sound very pure when they come off the club face, but we'll compare it to the forged head. Okay, so we'll go forged this time. I'd expect this to feel a bit better, probably expect it to fly slightly different and maybe sound different too. Yeah, first thing, much nicer feel. Softer off the club face, probably slightly higher flight as well. Whether that's spinning a little bit less because of that, I'm not sure. Yeah, quite a bit higher that. Possibly a little bit longer too. Definitely a much more solid feel to that one. Right, so I've hit 12 shots with each club. We're going to have a look at the data, see what flight scope can tell us. In fact, the forged head is about 8 yards longer than the cast head, and that's due mainly down to a 2 mile an hour increase in ball speed. But these are not purely game improvement clubs, and so I'm also looking at the launch angle and the spin rates. And in this instance, the launch angle and spin rate is better on the cast head than the forged. It's just whether I'm willing to give up the feel of the forged head. Okay, summing up then. Obviously you need to get the right specifications for your shaft and loft and line, for example. If it was just a straight C300, that would have to be done at the factory pretty much, because it's very difficult to be able to shape the head of a cast club. The forged you can tweak a little bit because it's a softer metal, and that's one of the reasons why you get better feel and a slightly different playability out of it as well. Price of these are $579 for the ordinary ones and $679 for the forged ones. That said, Wilson are quite unusual because they still offer 4 to pitching wedge, whereas most of the manufacturers are doing 5 to 9 or 4 to 9. So you are getting at least one other club for that, maybe even 2 other clubs. So it does put them at a price point below your sort of premium brands of Titleist and Callaway and TaylorMade, etc. And finally, if it was me, if I was going to make a choice, I'd definitely go for the forged one because I really like the feel of that. The other one just felt that little bit sort of cheaper, if you like, but the forged one was beautiful, and if it was set to my specifications, I know I could really get on with that. Loads more reviews coming up in the next few weeks. We've got loads of equipment coming in. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and give us a thumbs up. And hope to see you down the range very soon.